So recently, there was a massive drama happening on Twitter involving the Roblox game studio called ROLVe. If that name rings a bell, that group owns extremely huge games on Roblox such as Arsenal and Blox. The owner of ROLVe also owns another group named Spaceman Moonbase, which is behind a very well-respected game called BlockTales. That game was even advertised as an underrated gem by big YouTubers like Creekcraft. Unfortunately, the group has run into a lot of internal problems, and over the last few months, public battles have taken place with serious accusations being thrown around regarding some of the developers' pedophilic behavior. In this video, I intend to clarify the entire situation from start to finish, but before we get into it, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts as I want to hear what you think after hearing the full story. To understand how it all started, we need to go back to March 2025, when a well-known Roblox developer named IcyTea was suddenly removed from multiple ROLVe-related projects without any explanation. IcyTea was best known for his work on Blox cards, but he had also contributed to ROLVe's ecosystem. What made the situation even more shocking is that he had involvement with BlockTales, a narrative Roblox game owned by Spaceman Moonbase, a group run by ROLVe's founder. Behind the scenes, the lead developer of BlockTales, Campy, who had worked specifically on the game's storyline, played a central role in IcyTea's removal. In leaked messages, Campy claimed that Icy had done something serious enough to deserve exposure in a document, but that they chose to remove him quietly to avoid escalation. He also blamed other developers for leaking information to the public. I am never trusting TC2 developers ever again. They leaked all the IcyTea info that was supposed to stay private between us. But here's the issue, the accusations Campy was spreading were never backed by any evidence. According to him, IcyTea made inappropriate comments towards a 17-year-old girl and made her uncomfortable in developer voice calls, but there were no screenshots, no logs, no first-hand reports, and most of the developers never saw any proof at all. Eventually, the Blox cards team conducted their own investigation, and their findings were pretty clear. There were no sexual conversations, no predatory behavior, and no and the girl in question never made any public statement to support Campy's story. The conclusion was simple. There was no valid reason to ban IcyTea. He was quietly cleared, but the damage to his reputation was already done. When the document defending Icy leaked, more developers began questioning Campy's behavior, especially after seeing how aggressively he tried to shut down any conversation. "I'm not responding to this document ever. We do nothing. I'm not letting Censor get doxxed over her predator's group defending him." And then things flipped, because as people looked deeper, the same developer who pushed to remove IcyTea, Campy, suddenly became the subject of his own drama. One that traced back 4 years involving a 15-year-old girl. Let's walk through this clearly. Campy says he met his now girlfriend in August of 2021 while visiting family at a restaurant. He was 18, already out of high school, while she was 15, a sophomore still in high school. She approached him because of his Arsenal shirt, and after talking, her mom allowed Campy to get her number. They kept in contact and began dating online. Campy likes to portray this as innocent, even sweet, but the chat logs tell a very different story. Yes, she was a sophomore. I helped her throughout because she had problems with her math homework. That's how we sort of bonded. I taught her pre-calc. From the start, there was a very clear power imbalance. Campy was an adult, a popular developer with more experience, more independence, and more control. She was a 15-year-old high school student, emotionally vulnerable, and relying on him for help. Campy claims their relationship started as just friends, but the timeline does not match. Only 2 months after meeting, he was already calling her his girlfriend in group chats. "We've been dating for 2 months. We got together like first or second week. I got a girlfriend." I would not be surprised if I even married her. His stories also began contradicting each other. In one version, she was studying animation in college, and in another, she was still a high school student taking animation as an elective. In yet another story he pushed out, they met at a college campus, then he changed it again and said it was at a restaurant. The back and forth is more than inconsistent. It suggests an attempt to downplay just how young she really was when they got together. When the chat logs leaked, Campy's girlfriend, now 18, joined the group chats herself to defend him. She said, "Even if I was a victim, y'all really want to call him out without my consent?" To me, it really gives off a savior god complex. Campy is not this creepy, horrible, abusive person y'all want him to be so badly. He's the most respectful, caring person I've ever met. I'll defend him in every way possible. But here's the problem. Victims of group usually defend their abuser, especially when that person has been in their life since they were a child. The emotional connection feels deep, protective, and irreplaceable, even when it's toxic. Campy became her tutor, her boyfriend, her support system. That kind of dependency is not a healthy relationship. It's control. A developer called it out directly. A power dynamic was introduced immediately in that story. Campy's response? He added her to a group chat to speak for him. "I won't let you say that to me without her here." This is the same guy who spread unproven accusations against IcyTea, now hiding behind the girl he met as a... Some might still ask, was it actually illegal? And here's the answer to that. It depends on the state, but even if it wasn't strictly illegal, the ethics are still a serious issue. Campy was 18, already straight out of high school, while she was They weren't classmates, they didn't grow up together, he had graduated high school and she had not. This wasn't a small age gap between two peers. This was an adult pursuing a relationship with a from a completely different stage of life. Even if the law sees this as a red flag, most Romeo-Juliet laws only apply when both people are underage or still in school. This was not the case here. The bigger question is, why was an adult building an emotional relationship with a 15-year-old? Campy himself said, "I helped her with pre-calc. She means everything to me. I will always defend her." He even brought her into group chats to silence people. It's about trust and control. It's about shaping how a minor sees a relationship, blurring the lines until they don't even realize that they've been manipulated. Her defense of him actually proves that point. When someone says, "Even if I was a victim, you shouldn't call him out without my consent," that's exactly how it works. Campy didn't just fall for someone younger, he took advantage of his age, influence, and emotional leverage to keep control over her. After the backlash reached its peak, Campy finally broke his silence with a 13-minute-long video trying to explain his side of the story. In it, he admits to being the one who pushed for IcyTea's removal after hearing unverified claims, even though there was no proof. He also confirms that he never contacted Icy directly before the ban, a decision he now claims to regret. Then Campy shifts the focus onto his own drama. He says the ROLVe team turned on him after they found out he'd been in a relationship with a 15-year-old when he was 18. But according to Campy, this wasn't a big deal because they were both in high school at the time and both families gave their consent. Campy had already stated that he met her after he had graduated, so Campy wasn't in high school anymore. What I think is the most shocking part from that video is this clip.
All the arguments that have been kind of passing around in the group, and I just kind of wanted to lay to rest any of the kinds of worries that people were having recently about me. I don't have any regrets of what's going on, so I feel completely free to just speak my mind on the subject. I thought I should make something like this to describe what was going on because I have no guilt for anything I've done. I've never done anything illegal. I've never done anything morally wrong.
But here's the problem, that completely glosses over the actual issue. This wasn't just about legality, it was about the massive power imbalance in the relationship, something Campy never really acknowledges. He describes how he met her when she was in a relationship, how he supported her emotionally, how their parents were involved, and how she eventually joined their developer group chats. He presents it like a rescue story, but that only proves the point. This wasn't just a relationship, it was a dynamic where he was in control from the beginning, guiding her, protecting her, shaping how she thought about the people around her. That's not a partnership, that's behavior. And yes, his girlfriend, now 18, also released a written statement. She denies being groomed, she says she's never been uncomfortable around Campy, and she insists that their relationship has always been healthy and mutual. One specific line from her document says, "There was never a power hierarchy difference between us. Our relationship stayed healthy, and what we have is genuine." But as we've already covered, that's exactly what happens in cases. The victim doesn't see themselves as a victim, especially when the adult in their life has been in their support system for years. And again, this isn't about trying to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. It's about accountability, about power, about setting boundaries between what's appropriate and what's not when it comes to adults and minors. The relationship might have been consensual, it might have even been legal depending on the state, but that doesn't make it okay, especially when that same adult was actively deflecting from his own actions by accusing another developer without evidence, while hiding far more questionable behavior on his own. So let me be clear, Campy removed another developer based on false information, he created a narrative that wasn't backed by evidence, he got exposed and immediately tried to minimize what happened, then he used the same 18-year-old girl he was accused of grooming to shield to deflect criticism. And even after all of this, he still doesn't see a problem. As for ROLVe, they eventually did the right thing, but only after the situation exploded publicly. IcyTea was vindicated, Campy was removed, but a lot of damage had already been done. Even IcyTea said this in his statement. "Yes, I have seen ROLVe's statement on the situation, I have accepted their apology, however I will not return to ROLVe. What their protocols did to me and my team is not something I am willing to forget." That's the reality of what happened. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think ROLVe handled this in the right way, or was it a little too late? If there are any updates to this situation, I'll be sure to announce it in my Discord server or even make a follow-up video if it's necessary. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video so more people can understand what really happened. Because the truth matters, and no matter how hard someone tries to hide it, the truth always comes out.